This is the Peace, Power, and Purpose podcast, where we spread awareness for men's mental health and spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and Spotify. New episodes drop weekly. I pray you'll be in this episode and that will just reach those out there that are in need, that are looking for some answers, some healing and some growth, and also find purpose. Thank you again for the opportunity to sit down tonight. And I just pray that you'll lead me and guide me through this conversation. Thank you for this platform, and I'll let you do. It's in your name I pray. Amen. Welcome back to the Peace, Power, and Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Steve. And here on this channel, we raise awareness for mental health. Tonight, I'm joined by a special guest. Most people separate mental health, brain science, and spirituality. Tonight, my guest, Dr. Ketam Hamdan, is an award-winning educator, licensed therapist, and founder of the Brain Health Center, recently named Max Woman of the Year for her work in all three. So tonight she's going to spread her knowledge and help us out there that are looking for some answers, how we can find clarity, work on our mental health, and evolve not only as men, but also as women, because we do reach a wide audience. And while you're watching, click the bell, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We drop new episodes here every Wednesday and every Thursday. Without further ado, Dr. Hamdan, thank you so much for joining the Peace, Power, and Purpose podcast tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. And I have to say, I've done a lot of podcasts. I loved that you started with the prayer. It really sets a great intention.
Thank you. And just full transparency, it helps me calm down because the intro is the only part of the show where I get nervous. The rest of the time, I'm good, but the very beginning is where I get nervous. So it kind of helps calm me and without me rambling on too much. God is the only reason I'm sitting behind this microphone tonight. I have a testimony as well, and I really feel called to help other people out there just be more aware of their mental health and learn, especially as men, break the stigma. You're not
Mhm.
weak if you work on yourself and if you ask for help. And that's something that I struggle with personally for a very long time. And now I've finally realized that it's a very important thing, and it's important to raise awareness and help others. So I want to start it off kind of different than a normal episode. Here's a question I have for you. So we're gonna get right into it. Why are disciplined, successful people internally stuck sometimes? What is it that just causes them to get in their own head, whether it's overthinking, where they don't feel like they're successful enough or good enough and have to constantly prove themselves?
So here's the thing, you know, becoming a mental health professional was a change of career for me because I used to be a consultant. I was in the corporate world. I hated the person I became and I didn't understand it. And so fast forward now over a decade working in this space, and I work with a lot of high functioning professionals. We all have a hidden code driving us, and we've never really stopped to ask ourselves, what is that? We just kind of, are on the trajectory of accomplishments, doing one milestone after another, thinking that's going to be the Holy Grail to happiness, only to keep achieving it. And what ends up happening is you're numbing yourself. So I call it from the
Mm,
neck down is numb, and you're operating life basically from the neck above.
mm,
And you've never really kind of understood who you really are and why you are the way you are. Because, they say 15% of your life is the conscious mind, 85% is the subconscious mind.
mm,
And yet most of us are oblivious to it. And I call that, I've gotten trademark I call it your inner AI. Everybody's obsessed with AI, but we each have our own adaptive intelligence that actually is not in conscious awareness, and it's controlling our lives. And so I'll give you an example. An executive who's, I have who's a partner at a law firm, and he feel by society standards, he should be extremely happy. Graduated from an Ivy League school, multimillionaire, has the family, has the kids, but something's still missing. And it's the lack of mind body connection. And
mm.
that's one of the reasons where the integration of brain science, why I love that, because it integrates the soul. And then you have the science to kind of connect it as well. And then you have the psychology component. And in order for us to feel joy in life, all three need to be connected.
It's a good point. And I know I struggle with joy and being happy and really being grateful. I mean, I have a good life, but I still live in my own head at times. And it can be a struggle. And I know a lot of high performers, like you just said, deal with that, especially men from backgrounds coming out of the military or in a first responder role, because you've kind of been hardwired to be this top performer. all the time. And sometimes life just doesn't seem, it's almost like the grass always looks greener until you get over there and like, oh, wait a minute, maybe it wasn't so green. Um, so with kind of bringing all those things together, what are some maybe some habits or some examples you can give our audience to kind of help work through stuff like that, to find that joy, or to allow yourself to not feel like you have to go 100 miles an hour all the time.
So here's what people don't understand. There's one switch in the brain for emotions. And that means when you turn off the negative emotions, you actually turn off the positive emotions.
Mm,
So if you've been trained your entire life to not feel the negative emotions because, big boys don't cry and be
yeah.
strong and tough it up and keep going. Well, guess what? When you desensitize yourself to those negative emotions, you also have desensitized yourself to positive emotions. So until that, people are like always surprised by my answer when I say is until you actually give yourself permission to start feeling those so-called negative emotions, which are actually quite human, it'll be almost impossible for you to actually feel joy.
Hmm.
And, there's a lot of talk in the mental health space about emotional regulation.
Uh-huh.
But there's something that's missing before that. It's called distress tolerance or feeling uncomfortable emotions. You can't
Hmm.
regulate something that you're not accepting.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you don't actually accept, your anger or your fear or your sadness or your loneliness, it's going to be very difficult to regulate that.
Yeah.
And so everyone's trying to bypass and they're trying to kind of get to joy and happiness. But you have to first start allowing yourself, give yourself, I said, step one, give yourself permission. Just start noticing, different emotions like sadness, loneliness, fear, anger. Start there. And so that's number one. Number two is once you notice it, you need to label it,
Hmm.
meaning like, okay, I noticed that I'm feeling lonely. And it's okay with no shame. Usually it's like, oh, I feel lonely. Oh my God, I'm such a loser. I can't believe that I'm doing that. We don't give ourselves permission to even feel that. So
Yeah.
notice it. Then two, label it. And then three, just here's the thing about emotions. You have 90 seconds for that emotion to live. If you
Hmm.
allow yourself to sit with it for 90 seconds, it'll fizzle.
Huh.
And
That's a
that's what
good that's a good I'm glad you shared that, especially with anger, 'cause that's one I struggle with. I mean, not all the time, but I've gotten better with it. But driving has been a challenge sometimes with
but
traffic
here's
and
the
all
thing
that.
is that unexpressed emotions will come out in ugly ways.
Yeah, they will.
People will like look at anger as if it's a bad thing, but usually underneath that anger, which I'm sure you've heard, is something else. And it's not that it's to be, emotions are meant for motion,
Hmm.
right? They're telling you something. And we're scared to listen to them. And so they get acted out and before you're always like, will snap and be like, "Oh, I didn't like that."
Yeah. So you
And
think that's? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
well, they are wiring growing up too, how, I don't like to blame everything on childhood, but humans are creatures of habit and
Hmm.
patterns. So there's a pattern that you learned as a kid that helped you survive childhood. But here's the thing, as an adult, the brain doesn't say, "Oh, that was childhood. Now this is adulthood. I can do things different." It just keeps performing. So, for example, a kid that was told to shut up and listen to, whatever is being said and don't talk back, guess what they end up doing as an adult? They end up suppressing, holding back what they want to say. Now, it got them through childhood because, they didn't get spanked or they didn't get grounded. But now, as an adult, it gets them into trouble because those suppressed emotions
Hmm.
get stored in the body. And then I guess you have these explosions.
Yeah, and I think a lot of men struggle with reacting, not responding. And I'm glad you kind of put a time frame on those emotions. What are some tips, especially with like, I'll give a personal example. My mom has been in the hospital for over 2 weeks. She's had two back surgeries in a row. She's not doing well. And I have been carrying that. And I think what I have done is I've turned sadness that I'm carrying because I feel helpless. I don't know what to do. And it comes out in an angry way. So I try to regulate that. I really do. But what's a tip or maybe a suggestion for someone that is trying to not react through anger? And I know you said to kind of process that and sit in that emotion because it's emotion, but like what's a tip to kind of help with that? Because anger, I know for a lot of men is a natural emotion. It just is. And
So I have my private practice, and then on the nonprofit side, I work for the mental health director for a domestic violence organization here in Houston. And the big question I always have is that we deal with the survivors and not
hmm
the perpetrators. And a lot of these men have a lot of anger issues. And one of the things we realize is we need to start working with them because they're going to go back out into society and just find someone else, right?
right,
Solve
right.
the problem. So, you know what I call it the three N's, right? Number 1 is you have to notice, like, basically and it's usually a sensation that's happening in your body, like your blood's boiling, your face is hot, your chest is tight, your shoulders it's usually the body it shows up first in terms of a physiological, okay?
hmm
Notice what's happening in your body. Number 2 is name it. I'm feeling angry because I'm I feel helpless or I feel wronged or I feel like, worthless. And then the third and so one is it was notice, number 2 is name. Name the feeling. And then number 3 is normalize it. Of course, I feel angry. My mom's in the hospital. I feel completely powerless and I can't do anything. Giving yourself permission to feel something is what allows it to dissipate. When you don't give yourself permission to feel it, it actually expands and grows.
hmm
And it'll come in like ebbs and flows. And sometimes when you least expect it, it'll just abrupt, it's like a volcano waiting to burst.
Yeah. That happened yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good advice though. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think I know for me it's I mean, I've worked a lot on my mental health, but I think and this isn't an excuse or anything, but it's almost anger is still one of those emotions where it just feels like it's the hardest to deal with. It's harder to not react, but to respond. And I run in my head like be kind, loving, and gentle. And I've gotten a way better in a lot of areas of my life, but it just feels like anger is that one thing that
So
just kind of sits there.
I'm going to teach you a concept called the brain in your hand. So put your hand up.
Okay.
Have you heard of this before?
No.
Okay. So this is your brain, okay?
Mhm.
I want you to
Okay.
and fold it inwards, okay?
Okay. Yep.
This folded in, yeah, where it's like so this part of the brain is called the limbic part, the emotional part. It's called the
Okay.
amygdala, okay?
Okay.
Now, fold your fingers over it,
Okay.
okay? And this is the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe
Okay.
is the wise guy. It's the part that tells you,
Mm.
you know, don't get, don't say mean things, don't yell, be
Yeah.
kind. It knows the right thing to do. Now,
Yeah.
the brain is constantly scanning the environment for not to keep you happy, it's for threats. So anything that's a
Mhm.
threat, being powerless could be a threat for you. Not being able to speak could be a threat. A criticism is a threat. An eye roll could be a threat. Someone cutting you off could be a threat. We all have different experiences that trigger us.
Mhm.
When that happens, the frontal lobe needs to be online in order for you to stay calm, collected, and a mature adult.
Mhm.
But when we get triggered, this is the hidden process, right? The automatic code. What ends up happening is you flip your lid.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you literally flip your lid, and now
Yeah.
when this part of the brain is active, the frontal lobe is completely offline.
Okay.
There is no way you're going to make a sound decision or mature decision, and this is why you see a lot of grown men act like kids.
Yeah.
We're children walking around in adult bodies
Mm,
because we're
yeah.
literally tantrum. You flipped
Yeah.
your
Yeah, that
And
makes
until
sense.
you bring the frontal lobe back online, which sometimes takes minimum of 20 minutes to an hour,
Wow.
there is nothing you're going to do that's going to be mature and wise.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a great
Yeah.
analogy.
And so
Yeah.
I love that, this is an analogy by a famous neuroscientist, but it's like such a simple concept to be able to explain a complex process.
Hmm.
So what I tell people is that in those moments, we got to bring your brain back online.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
that's
before the
good.
process of bringing that back online is first noticing my blood's boiling, I want to scream, and identifying what we can slowly bring this back in.
Okay.
So when you notice it and you name it and you normalize it, you slowly bring the frontal lobe says, "Oh, I'm safe."
So that
Okay.
wise guy comes back around and
Yeah,
says,
it says, "I'm safe. I'm not no,
Yeah.
someone's not out to kill me."
Right, right. Okay, that's great. That's great advice, especially for those folks that put work in jobs where they're in harm's way,
Yeah.
especially when they come off of, they get away from that. That's really good. Well,
And
let's
just nobody's choosing this. I think that's the one thing is that I'm sure you're not choosing just to go on and be an angry person or to get up.
no, no, it's not fun. I mean,
Yeah.
it's exhausting. Yeah, and really, honestly, it's more driving. I mean, every area, most areas of my life, I've been able to kind of stabilize more, but really, it's just that reactive is still in the car because, and that what you just said makes sense. If someone cuts me off, I feel like my brain says I'm in danger because they
Yeah.
almost hit me, or I'm constantly scanning. So that makes perfect sense. To put it like that. Now it
But
kind of.
here's the thing is that what you don't realize is that that hidden code is what's influencing you, but you've never really chosen it. Does that make sense? Like,
Mm-hmm,
and so what my entire, I feel my professional career is giving people choice that they never knew they had. Because a lot of times, even myself included, I just figure like, well, this is who I am, and this is how I'll always be, and I'm never going to change. And
yeah.
you take on these labels, and it's like, but when you understand the way your brain works, you actually realize, well, there's an automatic process. That's like, I didn't choose it. I just automatically learned to shut, like, for example, to learn to shut down, because
Hmm.
that was what got me through childhood. Not talking back, don't disrupt the peace, stay quiet.
Hmm.
But as an adult, you know, if you're in a relationship and you're staying quiet and you're not speaking up for yourself or standing up for yourself, that can get you into trouble.
Hmm.
So then I had to learn, like, I remember literally one time I was arguing with my husband and I was like a deer in headlights, just like this. And he's like, why don't you say something? He's like, you're this educated woman that
Yeah.
had never had and I was like, oh my God, why can't I say something? And I realized my own nervous system had been programmed because I used to see raised voice as a threat.
Mm.
He's like, and my brain was interpreting like an argument equals divorce. He's going to leave me
Yeah. Yeah.
versus like recognizing it's normal to have conflict. How
Hmm.
many of us been taught that conflict is healthy? It's like, you're safe. He's not going to exit because you guys disagree something or because he raises his voice.
Right.
Whereas the fear in me would just kick off, and I didn't realize it until he kind of asked me that question, like, "Why are you quiet?" He's like, "Why are you like this?"
Hmm.
But that's an indication that my amygdala, which is that part of the brain I was telling you about, that
Hmm.
that's called your amygdala. So the brain develops back to front, right? So this part of the brain is very, very strong because this frontal lobe, it develops when you're 25, by the time you're
Okay.
25. So this part is a lot stronger. It's been there for a lot longer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That
and
makes
it's going to
sense.
influence, but it's as a result, though, it's automatically done these things to keep you safe.
Mm.
And you're not conscious of it. So we
Hmm.
need to start asking ourselves, like, do I want to continue responding this way? I think one of the things is that we just, oh, I don't want that. But it's like, okay, accept it because it's a learned pattern and be forgiving of yourself. But ask yourself, like, okay, I know I don't, do I want to continue responding this way? No. Okay. Is this a learned pattern? I used to be obsessed with understanding why, thinking it's going to change. I'll be quite honest with
Hmm.
you. It's about 5% of the process.
Hmm.
Why you are the way you are, honestly, change is state dependent. Meaning you gotta catch yourself in the act. That's how you create new neurons.
Okay.
Basically, like, for example, if I'm arguing with my husband, my mouth is open like this, I notice, "Oh, there I am, a deer in headlights." No, I'm actually going to speak. State dependent, meaning in that moment, I chose a different response. That's how you rewire your brain,
Hmm.
and you create new neural pathways. If you can pave that new neural pathway with a different choice, then you are on a path of transformation and growth. But you
So
have
it's
to
almost like
recognize.
getting.
Like, you have to recognize, someone cut me off, that you're gonna, like, get, upset, and then recognize, like, "Okay, I'm getting upset, I'm angry, I've always, raised my voice or honked the horn or did whatever. I'm gonna choose a different response because you remind
Yeah.
yourself, 'I'm safe.'"
Right. Right.
You
So it
know? This
it almost sounds like it's repetition, like in the gym. Like the more you can do it, then it's muscle memory almost. That's what it sounds like
Yes,
from my point of view.
but you have to recognize the pattern first. See,
Right.
you can't change what you don't recognize,
Right.
and that's the first part, is that you have to literally notice it, name it, and then normalize. Give yourself permission to feel it.
Hmm.
You can't change something that you don't accept.
Right.
We're always wanting to change something. It's weird. It's like you don't accept it and you want to change it, but it's like People think if they accept it, it's gonna get worse. It's the exact opposite.
Hmm,
Yeah.
it's a
I mean,
great
I can talk
point.
about this till I'm blue in the I have
No, that's a great perspective, though. I mean, I'm glad you're sharing all this 'cause, it makes perfect sense.
yeah. And, I like anger management course with all due respect to them. I used to like one in the beginning when I started with the president of this organization, it was like 2017. And I'm like, don't even waste your like, it doesn't work. If it, people go to these anger management because it's frontal lobe.
Yeah,
Your frontal lobe has to be online for you to apply all the skills you just learned.
right.
So so what we need to work on is getting them to kind of you can't until you bring now I think it's step 5, once they learn to bring the frontal lobe back online, then
Mhm.
they can apply all those great skills that they learned. But the first prelude to that is you gotta bring your frontal lobe back online, and starts with acknowledging and accepting what you're feeling. And then once you acknowledge and accept it, then you can maybe start taking I'm sure you've heard take a deep breath.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Never
Yeah.
in the history of take a deep breath has it calmed anyone down, okay?
No. No. Not at all.
In
Not at
fact,
all.
I would wanna punch someone when they tell me take a deep breath.
Yeah. And that lid just goes way it goes full open.
It's like the boxing gloves come up, yeah, because 'cause you're like
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. It's on
because
now.
guess what? Where's anger in the where is it in the head or in the body?
It's in the body, right?
Yeah. So you don't feel the brain's not registering. It's just saying not safe.
Yeah.
So you're telling it to go to the place where it doesn't feel safe, which is the
R
body.
right.
So
Right.
in order to breathe, you have to get into your body. So you're saying go to the place that your brain is registered as danger, which is the body.
Mhm. Hmm.
And so I'll tell people, okay, a better exercise than that is grounding. Just feel your fingers
Okay.
or feel your feet into the ground,
Okay.
or notice what's around the room. It's present.
Yeah.
It's all about becoming present because we live our life not present. And so in those moments, we're either like in the future or in the past. It's like literally,
Mm.
have you ever talk to someone going, it's like they flip, they're not there.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
not there.
Yeah.
You got to bring them back to reality.
Yeah. And
You know,
that's a good point because I personally I struggle at times living in the moment. I
like,
really do. I'm usually kind of jumping forward, I try like to enjoy. They say enjoy the moment, enjoy, unless I'm at the beach or something, it's hard for me to do that sometimes.
you were in the army and the Navy?
I was in the Navy and then I was also in law enforcement for a while,
Yeah.
so I did
You
both.
probably have, it's not even PTSD, it's complex.
Yeah, and I have some childhood trauma that's really, and I know we're kind of going back to what you were saying a minute ago, but some things that happened as a kid, I think I've gone to therapy and done some different modalities, but I think those traumas from childhood get triggered sometimes, and I think the anger is where it because I'm still I don't know. I mean, I don't have the knowledge base to explain this right, but I think it's maybe still a bit of shame there, so it turns into anger. Like, rejection is really like, I don't like to be disrespected, and rejection is really hard for me. I've gotten a lot better with it since I got sober, but, it's still something that, I have to really try to work on. It's
No,
not
and
a
in complex trauma, I mean, you have layers of it, right? It's like every time you
mhm.
work on a layer, you're like, "I thought I was done with this."
Yeah,
You're always
yeah,
like, "Look, is this ever is the growing ever stop?" Because I'm like
right.
peeling one onion layer after another.
Yeah, yeah, and then you have to sit in it again, and then you're thinking about it, and it's just you think you're past it, and then you're like, "Oh, shit, I'm going in this again,"
I'll
and it's
tell you if my I've seen the biohack, the fastest way to kinda is like I said, state dependent, is to start, being able to kinda notice and it starts with the sensation usually, like, literally, like, I would used to would feel my face filling up with, like, I don't know, blood or something, like, literally
mhm,
my face would be red or, like, heat, or if my shoulders are like, it starts with the sensation usually. Then you can notice the emotion, but the
mm,
sensation usually follows it. Like, if you can
okay,
notice the sensation, that you've already 50% of the way.
okay,
You notice, like, your fists are clenched,
yeah,
that's you're 50% there, and you can notice, "Okay, I'm getting angry," and then ask yourself, "What am I getting angry about?" "Oh, because, someone wronged you or you're not feeling
mhm,
safe, you rejecting." I mean, rejection the spot for rejection in the brain is the same spot for pain.
oh, wow,
Rejection is a big deal, like, people don't realize it. It is literally they have done MRI brain MRIs to show that when you are rejected, it's the same brain part for pain, physical pain.
Wow. I didn't know that.
There's no difference for breaking your arm and being rejected.
Hmm. Man.
Yeah, it's painful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you've got probably like some childhood script of be strong, big boys don't cry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But
A
if
lot
you go,
more lot more graphic than that, but I won't say
I know,
it. Don't be, yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
if you broke your leg and you're maybe there was some mercy, but
Right. Yeah.
but that's
Rough.
the same brain region that's being activated.
Okay. That's good, thank you for sharing that.
No,
That's
and that's
eye-opening. I didn't know that.
because, like, I come from a Middle Eastern background, okay, and
Mhm.
like cultures like, you know, there's no such thing as emotions, right? It's kind of like
Right.
you have no emotions. You're not allowed, even as a woman, you're not supposed to cry. You're supposed to be strong. Um, and so for me, the brain science has just been helped make it more of a non-negotiable. I take this stuff far more seriously. And I feel like as
Yeah.
a whole, mental health gets a bad rep because, psychology and psychiatry are the least advanced medical fields.
Hmm.
If you actually look at like, cardiology is advanced significantly, oncology is advanced, all these different medical professions have advanced significantly. Psychiatry hasn't advanced.
Hmm.
In the past 20, 30 years, there hasn't been significant advancements compared to other like medical professions. And it's also the one, area where I say they don't look at the organ they're treating, which is the brain.
Mhm.
And it's like otherwise you're just shooting arrows in the dark, throwing, trying to figure this out, pop a pill, go
Take a pill,
to
yeah.
therapy. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that's why so many people are exploring alternative means for healing. A lot of people I've met through this journey are doing stuff like that, like the alternative medicine type
Well,
practices.
so, and I do brain scans, right? And I
Mhm.
also called one of the modalities is neurofeedback. There's also something called like photobiomodulation, which is like light therapy,
Okay.
vagus nerve stimulators, even exploring looking into ketamine and psychedelics, right? Because it's not that there's not a space. Talk therapy is like I said, like number seven, and like, is that you need to stabilize and feel what you're doing or rewire some of those
Mhm.
patterns. Hypnosis actually works great too
Hmm.
because you're going into those lower brainwaves that you were your child and can kind of reprogram some of those
Hmm.
beliefs that you formed about yourself as a kid. That's the subconscious mind. So
Yeah.
I'm 1000% with you. The future of healing is in these new modalities. I have clients that will come to me and say, like, I did shrooms over the weekend and I haven't, or I have a couple weeks ago and I haven't taken my anxiety medication. And I'm like,
Hmm.
great. Hopefully it's guided and under some supervision, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Got
um,
some back alley somewhere. Working on mental health.
no,
Yeah.
I mean, I've had clients that have gone to like ketamine, done ketamine and for treatment resistant depression. I've had great progress with it. I've had some clients say, I did it, nothing changed,
Hmm.
but it was also not guided.
Right.
And, and here's the thing I tell everyone there's no magic pill. Stop looking for one thing.
Yeah.
The first thing is let's get the basics right: diet, exercise, and sleep. I don't care what you do. If you're not sleeping and you're putting junk in your body and you're
Mhm.
not moving your body, no matter what you do, it's not you're dealing with a wobbly foundation.
Yeah.
Then you can start stacking everything else. It's many things. It's not one thing.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's still hard for people to understand that you have to be active, you have to move, you have to eat right, and you've got to get the recovery with sleep. And I think people, like you just said, everybody wants a magic pill. I want to take this pill and I want it to be fixed. And it's not,
Mhm.
it's not going to happen. You got to put the work into it
You
along
know,
with
the body's
everything
meant to
else.
move.
Yeah.
Emotion, emotion, and that's what people don't. It's like I feel like society has programmed us all to kind of be like couch potatoes,
Hmm.
where it's doom scrolling now. The social media.
Yep.
That's another thing where it's like people don't even have to leave their home.
Mm-mm.
And
Well,
unfortunately, you know what the number one treatment for someone who's depressed is?
go for a walk.
Yeah, get them out of the bed. Let
Yep.
them go let them go get their own groceries.
Yeah.
Go get their own
Yeah.
food.
I'm guilty of that. I hate going to the grocery store. I
I know.
use Instacart.
But I'm saying, but we're not
Yeah.
alone. Are you laying in bed depressed all
No,
day?
no, 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 but I'm just saying I'm guilty of that
No.
one.
Well, I'm saying, but
Yeah.
that's saying, but for a depressed person who's not doing
Yeah,
anything,
I know. Yeah.
even basic life necessities, people
Yeah.
mean well. They
Yeah.
they do things for them. But what would be more effective is like, "I'm gonna take you to the grocery store. Let's go."
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Well, and I think too, like, I mean, even like today, I'm near Nashville. It was, 70 degrees and sunny. So I got home from work and I sat outside just to get some fresh air. Just because I own a training studio, so I'm inside all day. So I wanted
Ye
to get outside and get some fresh air. And so just for my mental health alone, that just helps me relax. Of course, I
Absolutely.
was working, but but I'm outside. I'm not sitting in the house and doom scrolling. I'm actually doing stuff, but I'm outside. So that alone, I mean, I worked out today, but that helps me just to kind of,
And
calm down and relax a little bit. So
and being in nature in general for any type is grounding,
yeah, totally.
you
Totally.
know? It's you don't have as much stimulus around you.
Hmm.
That's why a lot of these Buddhist monks and meditation, like, they never do it in the city. They're always, like, up in the mountains, away from
Right.
everything.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Well, how did you get into the field of mental health? Can you walk us through that a little bit? Like, I know you said you were in kind of corporate America, right, at first, and then went into the mental health field.
So, I mean, I remember the moment I was in my office and one of my teammates came into my office and I basically was giving her feedback that wasn't very nice, and she ended up having crying. And I remember her leaving my office and I was like, "Wow, I'm a total bitch." Like, and I was like, which was, a shock to me because I'm like, that's not who I wanna be.
Yeah.
So then I started on a path of, like, wanting to figure out, like, why I was that way, and I feel, like, blessed. I believe everything happens for a reason because God sends the right people,
Hmm.
and within the organization, one of the partners had cancer, and so he had this woman she looks like your grandmother that bakes chocolate chip cookies,
Nice. Yeah.
but she was originally from Australia, but lived in the Himalayas and India for, like, several, years, and he had brought her to the organization to teach, like, meditation and mind-body connection.
Hmm.
And so we did a training that following weekend, and I went up to her afterwards and I said, "I wanna do what you do." 'Cause, I mean, she was at a different level where she was, like, awake, making people conscious of themselves.
Yeah.
And what she looked at me and she just said, "You have so much fear inside of you. Stop working so hard to prove yourself."
Wow.
Like, how could she see that? But it was, like, such a get like, a I don't like, it's like she's just piercing
Yeah.
thought and preserved you, and I'm like, I wanna be able to do that." And she was a therapist by training.
Mm.
So then I quit my job and went back to school. And, I still feel that what I learned in school was great because it gave me a license, but
Hmm.
all this helped has been all my specialty training that I've done, like, pursued on my own. And
Yeah.
I'm my first client
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
'cause I'll try what I learn. I'm like, I feel
Right.
good.
Right.
Later, I'm like, I'm either stupid and slow or because I'm like, it would work for 2, 3 months, and then I'd go back to the way I was. And
Mm.
my mom's a very spiritual person, and then my mom would be like, "Well, God's not happy with you. You need to go pray more and get closer to God." And I did that for a couple years, and then I'm like, "Well,
Hmm.
I'm still kinda depressed. It's not working." Like, maybe God, maybe so that's when I did my dissertation on spiritual bypassing, which is what happens in times of tribulation and conflict, we turn to God to feel better,
Yeah.
which is a coping mechanism better than turning to alcohol, right? Or
Right. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely.
but at the same time, it's not enough. It's
Hmm.
spirituality and psychology, and that's when I learned both. It's both and that was what the insight I found for my dissertation. It's that, before it's like almost either or, but in reality, it's actually both and. And that's where I learned, okay, I have to integrate this. It's not like this compartmentalization where faith is over here, my profession's over here. It's like, but
Yeah.
society doesn't kind of really help you with that.
No, and it's interesting you say that because a lot of times on this show, I'll say I personally believe if you don't have Christ in your life, you're not going to reach that point of peace through your mental health because you've got to have that spiritual component. And it ruffles some feathers, but I know for me as an individual, that's where I really got when I got back into into the faith. That's when I really started to take care of myself from a mental health standpoint.
But you need an anchor, and I tell people, I don't care if you don't believe in an organized religion. I
Mhm.
mean, at least have a total cause, like the environment,
Yeah.
or animals, but you need to believe in something greater than yourself.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Otherwise, the ego takes over, right? Which is a whole 'nother
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well,
you know?
so did faith play a role for you personally, getting it making this career change? Obviously, it took a lot of courage to quit your job and then pursue this.
Yeah,
Was
I
faith
mean,
was faith a
it's
factor?
still yeah, I mean, I think, service in general, it's kinda like, when are you happiest?
Yeah.
You and helping others, and the irony of is in helping others, you help yourself, and teaching others, you teach yourself. So
Right, right.
it's kinda nice, though, I call it the back door to spirituality because I'm like, "Oh, science says this, wait a minute, so does my faith."
Yeah.
And it's kind of like it reinforces it, so I find that there's a lot of similarities, they're not in conflict with our they're actually supportive of each other, and it just depends, like, on
Mhm.
how you grew up, right?
Yeah, totally. Definitely,
With
definitely.
spirituality.
Yeah. Do you find that, at least when it comes to mental health, do you feel like that the stigma is slowly being removed, especially in men, where you're seen, old days you're seen as weak or you're a coward if you go and ask for help? Do you feel like that that's slowly starting to change?
Oh, absolutely, and I feel like social media is helping, and people like yourself doing these podcasts, they're posting more on TikTok and on Instagram,
Hmm.
so it's definitely making it a lot more, palatable, and also the science. I feel that the advancements in science have where they can kind of explain it in a more scientific way
Hmm.
has helped, so then it's like, "Oh, it's not just in my head, it's not like they're still there." It's for, like,
Yeah,
woo
yeah.
the woo-woo-ness.
Right, right.
But for me personally, like, maybe because I do the brain scans and I have the neuroscience background,
Hmm.
um, I might say about 70% of my clients are men,
Okay,
you know, because I feel that it legitimizes it and gives it a lot more credibility. And
that's good to hear.
they can, look at themselves more scientifically. Like, when you can understand what's happening internally,
Hmm.
it helps you take control of it, right? So you're not dependent on someone. I tell people, I'm like, "Look, I wanna make you as fast as possible, not depend on me at all. I don't want you to be like, if anything, I'm gonna give you the tools so you can heal yourself because you have everything you need inside. Nobody's just ever giving you that internal map.
Yeah,
So if you can understand your internal map and how to kind of, if you flip your lid, how to bring it back online, you'd be good to go. But we're
yeah.
never taught those things, and it's not
Right.
by talking about it.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
sure, I mean, it feels good temporarily, but it doesn't change anything.
No, no, I was in therapy for 3 years straight, and I still drank my ass off. So, I mean, and that ultimately led to a divorce and all that stuff. So, yeah, you definitely gotta do more than just talk, that's for sure.
I mean, I've found that it keeps you stuck,
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
then the shame kicks in,
Mhm,
"I'm never gonna change, I'm a failure, I'm a loser," and our negative self-talk alone is, quite horrific, but
mhm.
most of us don't even admit or even are not even aware of it. It's kinda like running in the background, it's that background noise.
Yeah, yeah.
I was 28 when I learned your thoughts are not facts.
Hmm.
I'm like, "What do you mean your thoughts are not facts?" "Yes, they are." I'm like, they're
Yeah, yeah.
like, "What do you mean? They were right in my whole life."
Right, right,
But
yeah.
yet we just let them run loose, and we just let them take on a life of their own and become a reality, and we never stop investigating that.
Hmm,
Like, you tell yourself like, "Oh, I'm not lovable," or "I'm" who says so? Well, I don't know, someone so somewhere along the line, but you just assume it's true and run with it.
hmm.
I have to settle, I'm not good
Yeah,
enough.
yeah,
But who says so? What's
right,
your evidence for that?
right. Man, that's a
And
good point.
but we don't ever take it to court. We never that's what consciousness is. Consciousness is, and Carl Jung, who's a famous psychologist, said, "Until you make
Mhm.
the conscious and the unconscious conscious, it'll continue to direct your life." And you'll say, "This
Hmm.
is"
Yeah. Wow.
yeah.
That reminds me of Jordan Peterson, he quotes him a lot. Yeah. No, that's a good point. I think, I know a lot of high performers kinda are overthinkers and make assumptions and don't rationalize things because of that what you're speaking about, you just got those running through your head, but it's not reality. It's what you make of yourself, and I know it can be challenging though to the positive self-talk. I've kind of learned to do a lot better job at that, but the old version of myself, I was always negative. I mean, I hated myself and I had to learn to love myself. That's one thing with this platform I want people to understand is like it's okay to love yourself. It doesn't make you prideful to love yourself because you have to in order to heal and to grow and to understand, why you feel certain things.
No, that's beautiful, and that's amazing that you're even conscious of that, and that you're using your platform to help others too, right? So it's like a win-win. In teaching others, you teach yourself.
Yeah, and there when I was in high school, we had this program like "Don't Follow Me," and they would
Mm,
bring these people up on the stage, and of course, the high school kid, you're looking at like that's stupid, like whatever. But
yeah.
I feel like I don't want other men to make the same decisions that I did because I took so many things for granted, and I want them to look at it through a different lens before they get to the point to where now they're on the other side and they realize, oh shit, this is brutal. This is not fun. And divorce is one of those things because I think it gets glamorized a lot in our society. And I have some friends that are always like, yeah, if I was divorced, I'd be doing this. And they have kids. And I'm like, I'm telling you right now, man, when you don't see your kid every day, that is a reality you do not want to face because it
Like,
is
it's
brutal.
not greener. The grass is greener where you
No.
water.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And I've had to learn that through through the last few years that yeah, it may look greener, but it's not.
You know, the question that I keep asking is, does it always take some type of tragedy to wake people up? What does it take? And, so
Hmm.
it takes something catastrophic or painful.
Yeah.
Um, and I perpetually unfortunately, it does. If you look at all great triumphs in history, they're usually through something catastrophic.
Right.
Whether it's in like at a political level, at a
Yeah.
individual level, it's always something catastrophic, and then there's like the reemerging that happens from it,
So how
right?
do how do we change that? How do we help people before they get to that catastrophic moment? Do you have
I mean,
any
it's
thoughts
more
on that?
uh, helping people understand their internal code before it kind of gets to a point where it's like, creates a train wreck for them probably. I think the
Mhm.
other thing is we take ourselves too damn serious.
Oh, yeah, I do. I'm way too serious.
But you know what I'm saying? Like one of my famous books that I ever read like years ago, was by Dr. Wayne Dyer who passed away.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. And he one of the premises, like the tools he had was like do something childlike.
Mhm.
And like and I was like, at the time I was in my 20s and I was like super serious. I'm like, what is that? That's like,
Yeah, yeah.
I have kids now, and so like, the belly laughs and just laughing over silly things or seeing them laugh over silly,
Mhm.
brings the child out in you.
Yeah.
But the irony is most adults are trying to go back to becoming children because
Hmm.
we've lost that, you can't if you're not present, you're not living, right? There's no
Yeah.
joy.
Right.
And we came into this world the first 7 years for the most part, we're living present, alive, joyful.
Mhm.
And then things happen to us that kind of rob us of that, and then we spend the rest of our life trying to go back
Oh,
to
wow.
that pure
Yeah.
childlike in us,
Huh.
you know? And it's amazing because it's like it's sad, it's so simple, but yet so challenging and difficult.
Mhm.
And it really comes down to just if you're able to kind of not take yourself so seriously and so critical, you could maybe then start looking at things. It's the lens at which you're looking at your own life,
Yeah.
you know?
That's
And,
a that's a good point, yeah.
a lot of people are so worried about other people think of them. And I'm like, "But you're not that important. You're not
Yeah.
occupying that much
Yeah.
space in someone's mind."
Right, right.
But yet you know, delayed life decisions because of the possibility they might view it a certain way.
Mhm.
I see it with my kids and it breaks my heart. And he's like, what are my friends gonna like he's 10 years old and I'm like, oh my God, are you falling into that? And I
Yeah.
is that's where the identity formation happens. And I just asked him the question. I said, and so what? And he said, what do you mean, so what? I said, so what if they don't agree with that or what would that change? He's like, well, then they won't like me. And if they don't like you, what would that change? And I want to like just to break down that thought because he's going down a pattern like, are you gonna be alone? Maybe. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being absolutely 100%, are you gonna be alone? He was like, so just, but the brain catastrophizes these things,
Mhm.
makes them truths, like, right? His brain is like, if my friends, don't like that how I do this presentation because it's geeky,
Yeah.
right? Then I'm gonna be he's a smart kid, so he wants to be a cool smart kid. He doesn't want to be the nerd. So
Right, right, yeah,
he's having
yeah,
that identity struggle, and I see it taking a toll on him.
yeah,
So, and I trying to help him, because of things that no one ever helped me with.
mhm.
So I think just awareness. The more awareness we can bring to this, the more we understand ourselves. I would love to inject this stuff into the school curriculum.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and hearing you speak, I had a conversation with my son a couple weeks ago. He's 7, he's in the 2nd grade, and, we were just talking, and I try to get him to we have a pretty good bond, but I try to get him his name's Jacob. I try to get Jacob to, like, talk to me, so if something's bothering him, he doesn't internalize it, and he told me, um it's a long story, but his grandmother's dog passed away, and he was sad. So instead of him talking about it, he shut down, and then a couple weeks later, he told me, he's like, "Dad, I didn't wanna say anything because I thought you would laugh at me if I cried." And I was like, "Buddy," I said, "I would
Mhm.
never do that." And I said, "I've cried on a podcast before in front of people," and, he goes, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "No, it's okay. It's normal to feel sadness. It's okay. I would never make fun of you." But he's 7 and he's already thinking that way, and it's just like, man, it's 2026 and these little boys are still thinking that way, like we did in the 80s growing up,
Mm.
and it's like, man, so I'm trying to really get him to understand that I did tell him though, I said, do it around some like a safe place. Don't do it at school with your buddies, but like do it at home. That's like,
Kids
but
are mean. I
oh,
mean,
they're really mean. Yeah. Yeah, they are. They are brutal.
and now with AI, I mean, our kids are in this alpha generation that we're not used to.
Hmm.
It's gonna only get worse. But yeah,
Yeah.
he's lucky to have a father who understands, and can at least give him permission to feel what he's feeling, or at least teach him that it's okay.
Well,
It's
and that's one of the things, like you mentioned earlier, I had to go through I had to hit rock bottom to finally get my stuff together, and, I don't want him to grow up like me. I tell him all the time, "I want you to be better than me, buddy. I don't want you to be me. I
Mhm.
want you to." I mean, I still tell him, "You're gonna go through trials, you're gonna have hard, bad things that happen to you. It's maybe not bad things, but challenging things," but I said, "I want you to be able to navigate that better than I." And I don't get into graphic details, but just it's okay to feel your emotions and to, it's okay to process them and not feel like you have to be strong all the time. I tell him, buddy, it takes more strength to come talk to me than to just keep it inside. Cause it's crazy. I'll watch him, even at 7, little boys are going to process anger and it comes out. And he's dealt with a lot already at a young age, but it's kind of heartbreaking to see it. Like, damn, man, I thought we were way past this, but it's still
And
there.
and the same sex parent has the most influence on a kid. So even if he's with his mom more or whatever, you will have
Hmm.
more, because I see with my boys, like I have 2 boys and a girl.
Uh-huh.
My husband has far more influence, even though they're close to me, but I
Yeah.
like, what daddy thinks and what daddy, like, is like golden.
Yeah.
There's something interesting about that.
Yeah, I guess like most boys growing up, they kinda look at their dad as, even if they don't have a good relationship, as like he's their
The role
hero, even if he's a role model. Like I wanna oh, he's cool. Even though my son, he calls it roasting. He roasts me all the time. But yeah, it's interesting. I didn't think of it that way. So I'm trying to set an example for him the best I can in a single parent home.
Mhm.
And we have a great relationship. We really do. I mean, I've been lucky to be able to kinda get a jump start on my journey, and then when I'm by myself with him, I'm able to kinda, transfer some of that what I've learned with him in a way that he understands, but,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. He's lucky to have you though. 'Cause
Thank
it
you, thank you.
and maybe in teaching him, you will also our kid look, parenting is probably the hardest thing I've done personally, and there's a book called Conscious Parenting, I don't know if you've read it,
Mm-mm, I heard of that.
where basically it debunks the traditional model where it's like we think of parenting as like, the downwards or authoritative looking child, versus
Yeah.
conscious parenting is that, talk about triggers, your kid will trigger your issues more than anyone. Your spouse
Oh,
and your
yeah.
okay, so
Yeah.
I noticed I wanna call my kid's name, like, I'm calling their names, like, "Dean, Rand, come," and they're not coming. I noticed I started getting angry, and I was like, and I kept my voice would get louder, and then I realized, because I had read the book, I was like, "Oh my god, this is my childhood wounds of not being heard."
Mm.
So I was losing my crap, and yelling at them like a psychopath, and they're just
Yeah.
looking at me like, "What's the like, why," like, "Why are you like a crazy woman yelling at the top of the stairs?"
Yeah. 'Cause you flipped your lid, that's why.
Gosh, there you go, smart. And the trigger was for me was not being heard,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's like it's all in a millisecond, right? That's the thing about
Mhm.
this stuff is that and then but when I was able to connect the dots, I still was angry, but I was able to reduce the intensity.
Yeah.
So here's the other thing to do. The more intense your reaction is, the deeper the wound.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's where I knew because I was like, why am I like becoming psycho? Because they're just not answering me.
Yeah.
And it was like when I saw their poor innocent faces at the bottom of the stairs, like leaning like, what like what's wrong with you? Like,
What's wrong, mom?
oh my God. Like it was almost like a rude awakening for me to like, oh my this is me. It's not about them. Like,
Yeah.
yes, there's a respect factor that they need to learn, but they doesn't me raising my voice, at the top of my lungs isn't gonna get that respect.
It's
It's
funny
just
how
gonna
that works, huh?
yeah,
Yeah.
and instill fear in them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the whole notion of conscious parenting is about we gotta parent ourselves and our wounds in order to be able to show up for our kids the way we need.
I'm glad you shared that because I think a lot, especially folks that have been divorced and are single parenting, that's a good one to hear because the kids have already been through enough, and then if you can manage that without letting your wounds get triggered and then channeling that anger onto them or whatever emotion, I think that's really important.
And there's an authority dynamic there too, right? Because you feel like you can, right? It's even more,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
like I'm the,
I'm in charge.
sure, yeah.
Yeah,
And you can get
yeah.
away with that the first, 10 years, but once you get into the like teenage years, it's
Mhm.
not the same anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I have a 16-year-old daughter from my, first marriage, and I learned that lesson when she got into, middle school that I couldn't talk to her the same way. We were really close when she was young, but as she started maturing, I couldn't talk to her in the same way, and I've had to kinda learn how to parent her in a much different than my son, but, yeah, man, parenting is wild. Like,
Yeah, it's the hardest thing I've ever done. I'm like, oh,
it's
you know,
like
well, because each child has different and they have their own temperaments and their own,
mhm,
but it's definitely, and it's like learning when to, it's like when to kind of be strict, when not to be strict. I will tell you, permissive parenting is BS. It doesn't work. There's somewhere like where with letting the child decide. Once you understand the way the brain develops, they don't know what's best for them. If you're going to give the decision to a child to decide what's good for them, they're not going to do anything.
no.
They're at home, watch TV all day.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
we have to be their frontal lobe up until the age of like 20. But that takes discipline on our end to constantly, fight the battle to know what you're deciding for them is for their best interest,
Yeah,
right? Um, it's a combination of like, but you have to have conviction in yourself. But when you're constantly questioning yourself, like, do I know what I'm doing? Do I know what I'm doing? You're going to be inconsistent,
yeah. I'm g
So we need validation too. So a lot of times, like, I feel like a lot of times I'm just looking over my shoulders, like, am I doing the right thing? Am I being
yeah.
too hard? Too strict?
Well, I'm glad you shared that because I've noticed, their parents seem like more nowadays are trying to be their friend and not the parent, and they're letting the kids make the decisions, and it's just I didn't grow up like that. I've never been like that with my kids, and so I don't understand that because I just see like my daughter's 16 and she drives and she's fairly responsible and she could be a little more responsible, but I see some kids that they don't look you in the eye when they're out in public. They don't even, like, know how to place an order at a restaurant or pump gas in a car, and I'm just like, "Damn, man, how do you even get out of the house?" And that's the next generation coming up. So
Well, there's these charts where they're like, oh, people will be like, oh, well, he was a good kid. Now, here's the thing is, up until the 25, they don't have a frontal lobe fully developed. So the impulse part of their brain is 10 times stronger.
mhm.
And if they're with their friends, if they were at 40% in terms of maturity, you just inserted another immature person with them. Now they're at 20% maturity.
Yeah,
40% and now you're at 20% maturity.
yeah.
And, and I love this because this is a woman named Dr. Crystal Collier, who's like basically, she's like, look, until they're like in their 20s, you have to be their frontal lobe. Children need security, safety, and guidance.
Mhm.
And they don't know that, especially when they're 16, they don't realize that they need the guidance because they think they know everything.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
But they don't, it's neurologically, they don't have the capacity. It's not developed fully for them to be that mature, wise person. That's why you'll see good kids make bad decisions.
mhm.
They have these risky behaviors that they end up it just takes one person to kind of,
Yep,
"Come on, just one drink, come on, one
yep.
joint, this, what's the big deal?" And guess what? the fear of like, oh, I want to fit in. I don't want to be seen as a weirdo. Like that impulse control is going to take over
Mhm.
unless you've already preempted it with them and done those, they call it scenario playing where you actually act out these situations. They're less likely to kind of default give in to the peer pressure. If you can preempt the scenario with them and give it and actually role play like how they would respond.
Hmm.
Their brain needs to see a model
Huh, that's good
of what to
advice.
do different. Yeah. So that there's a list of like I can email them to you too. It's like a
Okay,
brisket
great, yeah.
that you basically like everything from being offered a joint to alcohol to pornography, like and not obviously all at once because then they'll be like,
Well, yeah. Yeah. Then you go do some mushrooms. Yeah.
but just like have a conversation like, look, if every couple of days, every week you do a scenario with them. Someone were to
Yeah,
approach you and say, hey, want to drink, how would you respond?
right.
And you'd be surprised a lot of times, like you're gonna notice the innocence that they have.
Mhm.
And then if you can have a clear line that you give them and you just rehearse with them, then that line will, it's first mover's advantage. Then they're more likely to do that. But if you
Hmm.
try to be reactive, it's a lot harder.
Yeah.
And then what they found is that neurologically, if a child or a teenager avoids alcohol, drugs, pornography, um, being promiscuous before the age of 21, then the odds of them becoming an addict is 90% like not likely.
Wow.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
I mean, how many kids do you know though before 21 aren't touching any of those things?
Oh, I know, it's rare. Yeah, it's very rare.
But
And
it's
that
just
peer
because the brain is wired on patterns, right? It becomes a
Mhm. Huh.
and it's still developing maturity of what's right and what's wrong. And so if they haven't by the 21, they can decipher, yeah, that's not really the best thing for you. But if
Mhm.
beforehand, it's more just a habit.
Hmm.
My friends did it, we did it here, so it becomes more habitual.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Anyway,
that's good advice though, especially for, people that may not know that, never heard those statistics before. Because yeah, peer pressure is definitely a strong thing now with social media and just everything else involved, and, the generation now is so much different than, like, when I was growing up, so
yeah. Well, and they tell you like influence wise, but we can influence our kids maybe if we're lucky until the age of 12.
Mhm.
12 onwards, it's their friends.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's different podcasts I follow, and like I love it when these experts sit there and say, like, look, if I will move cities if I need to, if I know that there's my kid is around a bad friend,
Hmm.
because that's how strong of an influence I know they're gonna have on them.
Yeah.
And I was saying, like, he's a mental health specialist, but he used to work in the juvenile detention. He's like,
Oh,
I have
okay.
juvenile detention, and guess what? Every sentence starts with, I had a friend.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
what got you here? Well, I had a friend. He's like, 95% of the time, that's how the conversation starts.
yeah.
So, in addition to us, making sure that we're sound, doing our due diligence and monitoring who they're around. And he's like, we're driving them to other immature houses so these kids can kind of we want them to have friends. He's like, they
Yeah,
don't need another immature brain.
right.
The best friend that they need is you. If you
Mhm,
can stay healthy, they don't need, we think that they need other peers. They have the rest of their life for peers.
mhm,
You know, we put too much emphasis that it's too early for that.
hmm.
Yes, you need solid relationship here and there, but they don't need these best friends and close friends because the likelihood that their friends influencing them positive is very unlikely.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely.
Right.
Well, do you have, because we talked about spirituality a little bit, is there like do you have a favorite scripture that you like to share with our audience, or do you have like a quote or a motto that you like to share? I ask every guest this, so I'm not putting
So,
you on the spot.
I'm like Muslim by faith.
Yeah, yeah.
So there is a line in the Quran that I learned that basically, and it kind of changed my whole relationship with God. Um, where I'll translate it in English, but it's like only and it's the one that kind of made me closer to God because it's like only in the remembrance of God do the hearts find rest or
Hmm,
peace. It's
okay.
like we're obsessed with happiness
Yeah, yeah.
and we're constantly looking for it. But it's like, when I see it in the holy book of the Quran, it's telling me that look, only in the remembrance of God are you going to find that happiness you're searching for. Then it just makes me like it's such a pivotal part to our being.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, and I think, it's a shame that so many people don't feel worthy of God, or
Mm.
they are, afraid of God, and so they maybe self-sabotage, for lack of better words. And that's one thing I'm trying to do, is to show that God's for everybody. You don't have to have a certain background, or be this perfect person, because none of us are perfect. But it's disheartening. And I know there is a role with how you've been brought up, and maybe what kind of church you attended, and there's church hurt here in the South and stuff like that. But it's just a shame to hear so many people speak, and they've just kind of lost hope with that.
Well, it's usually because of fear-based, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I was
Yeah,
one of those people for years. Yeah.
you're gonna go to hell. You never
Yep.
know.
Yep.
God's not happy with you.
Yep. And that drove me to go even further away from God, because I was in such fear of that. And so, talking about the frontal lobe, I don't think mine developed till I was like 43. But it's like, just because
You know what? All the great religions of the world, I've studied several religions, is that they all preach the same stuff because I'm like, there's hidden wisdom in this.
yeah.
God's not trying to make our life miserable, right?
No.
It's about being kind and doing good, but it's all for a great, like, from a psychological, it's all very psychological because guess what? You have internal peace.
Right.
When every negative thought you have, or if you lie, you actually literally secrete a negative like hormone in your body. So you feel like
Mm.
crap.
Yeah.
Every negative thing you do, you feel like crap. So when God's telling you don't lie, don't steal, don't cheat, it's like there's wisdom in that.
Right, right. Yeah.
It's not because it just, wants to make life complicated for you.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't want me to have any fun. That's
Yeah.
what I used to think when I was younger. Like, this is lame. It's like, but that was before my frontal lobe was developed. But because I think it's like that pressure that sometimes you feel growing up in a church, and it could be whatever denomination, but you just feel like you can't make a mistake, and you're like, those kids over there could do all this, and I can't do anything. And that's how I looked at it. But then you go do that stuff, and you're like, well, that was dumb. Now look where I'm at now. So, but that's like, you learn the lesson the hard way. Some of us do, but I think I'm glad you shared, because I think at the end of the day, it's find, like, look at life in hard seasons as a teaching moment. What can I learn from this? What is God trying to show me through this? And I have a relationship with him now, where I just talk to him like you and I are talking tonight. So I'm like, God, why is this person in my life? Like, what am I trying to learn here? Like, instead of me
Mhm.
getting upset, or like, that person sucks, and just like, what am I supposed to learn from this? How can I take something away from this? And it's not easy all the time, but I think it shows that you can have the relationship where you can just talk to them. You don't have to go
What
through this
got you
certain.
there where you were able to be curious?
So I had a major accident in 2021. You probably can't see it, but I got a scar like in my mustache. I crashed through a plastic Adirondack chair, completely
Oh,
pissed
wow.
drunk. And at the time I was in marriage counseling, the therapist he said, Steve, you're an alcoholic. You need to go to AA. So you got two choices. You can choose your family, or you can choose alcohol. And I told him, I said, first of all, I'm not an alcoholic, but I'm not going to choose alcohol over my family. So we had just started attending a church, because my ex-wife was really pressuring me to get back into church. And so we grew up in two different denominations. So that was always a hot topic for us. It's like, politics. One of us didn't
Yeah.
agree with the other one. So we were attending a church, and when I had that accident, I kind of took it upon myself. That was my wake up call, because I knew she was going to leave me if I didn't get sober. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to start a morning routine. And started reading books. I started listening to podcasts, because the version of myself that drank was like, I'm not watching a podcast. That's dumb. I don't want to do that. And so that was kind of my moment where I woke up, and I was like, okay, I want to be a better man. I want to be a better husband, a better father for my children. So the church was where I found sobriety. I went to two AA meetings, and I just wasn't for me. And I got in a men's group, and lo and behold, making the story short, she left me after a year of sobriety. And that was my moment where I finally surrendered to God, and I told him, I can't do this on my own. Because
Mm,
even before that moment, when I was in the first year of sobriety, I thought I was in control. I thought I was able to handle it. But when she decided she wanted a divorce, that's when I fully just broke down, and had that moment of surrender. And life got way harder. I mean, it really did, to be honest. But I stayed the course and I leaned into them, and I would talk to them, and, I would read scripture. I'd start a morning routine. And so that ultimately led me to saying, okay, how can I help other people? And I'm not I don't have a background in media or public speaking. I'm a personal trainer.
Mhm.
That's what I do for my day job. But I just felt compelled to share my testimony. And I don't know, it was that was for me. If I didn't have Christ in my life, I never would have. I would have went back to drinking through that divorce, because it was very difficult. That was harder than getting sober for me.
Wow.
But I would have numbed during that whole because that was my second one. That was my second divorce, and I have
Mm,
2 kids. And so my son was 4 when we got separated. And so I was carrying shame, and I just felt horrible, because I'm like, man, I'm putting another kid through a divorce, another broken home. And if I hadn't have gotten my faith back, because I grew up in the church. I mean, I grew up in a typical Southern household where we went to church 3 days a week.
mm.
And I would have kept drinking, and I
So
would
that
have went off the and
that also helped.
hmm?
You grew up in that environment spiritually, like, you were able to go back probably helped.
I did have the foundation. But most of my young adulthood and early well, like in my 20s and stuff, I was afraid of God. I
Yeah.
was almost not, I wouldn't say I was mad at him, but I kind of said, okay, God, I'm going to put you over here because I followed all your rules and nothing happened. So I'm going to go this way. But it did help because I had a foundation. So I understood kind of the groundwork, but I developed a relationship with Jesus through reading a book by John Eldridge called Beautiful Outlaw.
Mm,
That's where I really figured, oh, I can just talk to him all the time. Like if somebody walks in the room, and you were mentioning this earlier, I get a rush. You can say a name of somebody that I don't like, I get a rush. I feel it. I know where that anger is coming from. But I learned to pray in my head, like during the custody exchange, I'd pray driving to meet my ex and be like, Lord, just be here with me. Give me patience, make me kind, make me gentle. And I would just, when I'm getting yelled at, I wouldn't react. I'd just stand there and take it. And I couldn't have done that without Jesus.
wow.
There's no way. Because I'm a
So,
reactive person, Oh, I was in the past. So
the other thing too is what people don't realize, especially if you've been through 2 divorce by itself is to the psyche is equivalent to death.
oh wow.
Yeah. Loss because it's a role, right? Like, you're
Yeah.
identified as being a husband.
Yeah.
And so when you go there, especially twice, that's 2 deaths you've had, and the psyche's trying your identity is so shaped up in that. Now you've had that it doesn't differentiate like, "Oh, just because I'm not a husband anymore, that I'm still a son and a father and a human,"
Hmm.
'cause our identity becomes wrapped up in these roles. And until you actually are able to kind of step back and realize, like, "No, I am still someone and I can still survive. My life is not over because I don't have this person." But unconsciously, the way the psyche takes it is it's one of the most detriment it's like one of the most detrimental things to the psyche because it's literally it's like a death of a role.
Yeah.
And it
I've
doesn't
heard it.
differentiate that there's other roles. It just assumes that that's your whole life.
Yeah, and I've heard it put too. You're grieving the loss of a person that's still alive
Yeah, that's
versus a death in the family or a friend. Like and so and that kind of made sense to me. Yeah, you're right. And and then, like, you bring church into that, the faith that I was in, you're looked at like, "Oh, well, you can't be here anymore because 'cause you're divorced." That's a cardinal sin. That's a big one in some denominations. They're like, "Well, what'd you do wrong? And you can't be here." And I was like, "Alright, that's cool." Then that's more shame. Pile the shame on it. Pile
yeah.
the
And shame is one of the most catastrophic things for the psyche. That's why it's the hardest to work with.
That's been the hardest thing for me to get over with. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Yeah, and
Go
I did an exercise with a, specialist for it was a 4-hour session. It was faith-based, but I was able to identify exactly what age I felt shame, exactly what age I felt pride, and I
Oh, wow.
narrowed it down. 5 years old is when I felt shame, and middle school, 5th grade is when I started feeling pride, and
Wow.
that pride compounded on the shame. I had a childhood trauma event at kindergarten, but I didn't think about it for years. But, when I went through this session, and I was sober during all this, but then I realized, okay, that's the moment that I started carrying shame. And so the way I would try to cope with that was, I gotta be the best. I gotta be the biggest, the fastest, the strongest, and I gotta be the best. And to earn respect, to earn validation, to earn love. That's what I saw it as. And so I don't want my son, I want him to realize, I tell him all the time, like, buddy, I love you no matter what you do. I love you unconditionally, man. I'll always be there for you. You may make mistakes. You may do something really bad. I'll always love you. Like I try to tell, I was like, Jacob, I'm so proud of you. Like, Dad, I know you say it all the time. I'm like, well, it's like, because a lot of us didn't hear that stuff growing up, and we're looking, and I hate, I'm getting off topic, but like I know other men like myself that would look to women for that validation because we didn't get it growing up, and so we would go in areas that weren't necessarily healthy, and to try to get that love or that validation when because we didn't love ourselves, So
Can I share my screen with you?
yeah, totally.
I wish I would have did this earlier. Let me see. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is called, have you heard of polyvagal theory?
No, I haven't.
I don't like theories because I like real examples, right? But
Mhm.
because you're talking about shame and just to leave you with something about your own nervous system, when you're alive and you're present and you're happy, you're in this green zone, just in simple
Okay.
code. Okay,
Mhm.
a trigger will happen, i.e., you're going to church and you're divorced. It literally, it happens. It's the nervous system with on the very top. You see this says the nervous system with the neuroception of a threat.
Mhm.
It happens in a millisecond, right? Someone looking at you with you know, like contempt or just looking down on you, or it could be someone raising their voice or someone saying something like, "Oh man, you got divorced again," and we laugh it off. But the nervous system, what ends up happening, it says, "Oh, I'm not safe," and it jumps
Mhm.
literally from this green zone. You might get into some fight, some anger and fight and flight, but your body can't sustain that level of anger and rage.
Yeah.
Then it actually, to conserve energy, goes up into this freeze where you collapse
Mm.
and become immobile and you shut down.
Yeah.
And historically, they've always put fight, flight, and freeze as one,
Mhm.
but they're actually two different distinct physiological states. And your body automatically adjusts because if you stay in anger, what's happening, your blood pressure is increasing, your heart rate's increasing, your adrenaline's up, your body, you're gonna have a heart attack if you stay at that
Yeah.
level. So
Yeah,
then the
definitely.
body says, "Uh-oh, this is too much, shut down."
Shut down. Yeah.
And it takes a lot of effort to get out of that freeze state.
Mhm.
And for a lot of people, you're talking about people that like the high performers, they live in that freeze state. They're succeeding, but they're numb. They're
Yeah.
dissociated. They're feeling, hopeless in certain areas. They're not saying it, but like someone who's frozen or just very like emotionless or um
Like stoic.
yeah, they're in that freeze state. Now society rewards that
Right.
because they're not talking back, they're not being a disruption, they're being quote unquote compliant.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
So we don't, but we never learn about our nervous system and kind of we just take that becomes your reality and you think this is cool. This is what I'm supposed to live life.
Mhm.
But even internally, until there's a physical health problem, because internally each one of these states is secreting different hormones.
Yeah.
If you can't sustain that either, because this is how you start getting autoimmune diseases.
Mm.
Over time, the body's like, you're still secreting negativity.
Mhm.
So unless you're in this present, where you're curious and you're open and you're grounded and you're just calm. If you're in most people live in this fight or flight or in this freeze state. Very few people stay in this, so, we're meant to stay 70% of our day in this green zone.
Wow. 70%, huh?
But the thing is, this is automatically happening. You're not choosing this.
Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah.
And the brain is just goes in and out of these states, which is normal, but you're
Mhm.
supposed to go, for example, if you're in the green zone, like it's like a kid, watch your kid, they get angry and then they come back down.
Yeah.
We're meant to kind of go in and out of these states. What happens though as adults over time, that wiring is that you start hanging out in the yellow and the red zone more often.
Hmm.
So if we start understanding, like I kind of tell people, like just name the color. Are you in yellow? Are you in green zone? If you're not in green zone, okay, how do you get back down there?
Yeah.
Social connection with a safe adult is the fastest way.
Hmm. That
We
makes
call it
sense.
co-regulation.
Yeah, I've heard that
That's
term, yeah.
never leave a kid alone when they're unhappy or they're sad.
Yeah.
It's the children need co-regulation. It's like from the time they're born, what happens if a baby's crying and nobody comes to soothe it? It'll die, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah. definitely.
As humans, we're like those infants. We need co-regulation. We're not meant to be alone.
No, we're not. No, we're not. And
Anyway,
that is one thing I'll try to really stress too on the show is that you need people that you can supportive people that you can be around and use the term brotherhood where you have those people and I've said this before. I mean, I've actually met people through this platform that I'm closer to that I've never met in person because we
wow.
have that shared experience. And even though I was in a men's group for a while, but I'll be honest with you, I mean, I didn't jive in it. The leadership was I don't want to say names or anything. The leadership was doing habits that I did in my previous life, and I wasn't comfortable being around it. I can't take advice from someone that gets drunk off their ass all the time. And when I struggled with alcohol, and this was a church group, this was a Christian men's group, and I'm just like, dude,
The
like
hypocrisy, I know.
I know, and that's why people don't want to go to church. But I was like, I can't do it. I cannot be around that because that was such a huge struggle for me, and I just can't. And it's hard to not look at them, be judgmental, and I try not to be. But for me, I know it's not. It's best for me to leave that. And then
Yeah.
I got into this, and I've met other guys I can call and say, hey man, I'm not doing good today. Or just because I host a podcast on mental health doesn't mean I have all this figured out.
Oh, no.
Obviously, like looking at that chart, I'm like, damn, I don't know when last time I was in that green area. No, it's like,
Try being a psychologist, right? That
oh, I can't imagine. I can't imagine. Yeah.
held to a higher standard, you have to be a perfection, and I even tell my husband,
Right.
"Listen, just, you know, I'm allowed to be a work in progress and help others."
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
think
like
it
that.
for me, because I was tough on myself, like, it's like, how am I
Yeah.
helping people when I still have I issues? And then I was like, "Wait a minute, I'm allowed to be a work in progress and still help others,"
Mhm.
right? It doesn't nullify or it's 2 things can be true.
Yeah. That needs to be on a bumper sticker or a t-shirt. It's like yeah. I need that chart to put up at work so I
Well,
can look at it.
we're our own worst critic. I don't know where we learned. Somewhere
Yeah.
along the line, we all learned, like, let me beat myself up, tell myself what a loser I am and piece of crap I am, and somehow that's gonna miraculously make me want be a better person.
But from the guy's perspective, if you get on social media long enough, there's some major fitness guys out there that's their whole mantra. And it's like, dude, that is so old school and it doesn't
What,
work.
like, just beating yourself up?
Yeah, like calling yourself names and, push through this. And I get where they're coming from, but if you're taking like a adolescent kid and they see that, I mean, that's just going to create more problems down the road because like you just said, you're going to be your own worst critic. And then you're not going to embrace when you have successes or you're doing good things. And I think that's like it kind of puts you behind the eight ball for lack of better words. Like you're already setting yourself up for, a harder road, I think. But
No, absolutely. But they even tell you, pay attention, like, if your son is in sports, we don't realize, a lot of these coaches don't have any mental health training, right? And
no.
they're also influencing and basically, unfortunately, not necessarily maybe helping them developmentally if
Yeah.
you know, they're using some of these tough guy approaches with them.
And I can't get over some of these parents, and I tell my son all the time, I'm like, "Buddy, you're 7, you're playing soccer, have fun. Don't
Yes.
stress about it. You don't have to be the best, man. Just go have fun. None of these kids are probably gonna play college soccer. Just go have fun." Because I played baseball growing up, and I was in my own head all the time, like, "Gotta get a scholarship. I gotta be the best one on the field." And what it would do is it made it a job. It wasn't fun anymore. So I just tell Jacob, I'm like, "Hey, bud, look, just have fun, man. It's cool. Like, if they score a
No,
goal on you, no big
my
deal."
husband's a sports fanatic. And so he has
Okay.
like every sport under the sun. And I had to do some research. I'm like, wait a minute, you won't know if someone's good at something until the age of after 12.
Yeah.
So before 12, they actually expose them to a lot of sports. You really won't know developmentally what they're really good at. You can kind of prime it and train it, but you won't really know until after 12. So
Hmm.
I was like, told them, back off. Like, they got a few more years, like,
Yeah,
and they're not
yeah.
going to be NBA players. They're not going to be NFL players. Like,
Right, right.
it's like, just, back off. Cause he's like one of those, like, you got to be perfect and do it great. And I'm just like, oh, it's like a train wreck. I'm like, no, I'm like, the hardest, is getting him to like, because he wasn't allowed to play sports. So he's trying to live vicariously through his
Oh,
kid.
okay. Yeah, yeah,
So every now and
yeah.
then I'm just like, I have to kind of, I have to be his psychologist, not his wife. Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
be. But I'm like, for the sake of my kids, I'm like, I don't,
Yeah. "Have a
he
seat, we're
doesn't,
gonna talk."
or he sees my
You're like
son, like, hurt or crying. He's like, get up, don't cry. I'm like, he can cry. You know,
yeah,
he's allowed to
yeah,
cry.
yeah,
you know,
yeah. No,
So,
it's a challenge. Yeah, it's a challenge, and you gotta look at it too, like, I mean, it's a game. It's supposed to be fun, it's not life or death,
no,
but people get caught up
no,
in
no,
it
these
for
parents and
sure.
they're hardcore. I see these parents. Come on, you gotta be, do what we talked
Yeah.
about. I'm like, whoa, relax. But
Well, then you
usually
see
people
the
are
adults at
actually,
games getting in fights and stuff, and you're like, "Really?" I mean, come on, man. But
that's what I tell you. Most adults are children walking
yeah,
around with bodies. You
yeah,
see,
that's
tantrums,
hilarious.
temper tantrums.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's you're right about that for sure.
Oh, well, I didn't
Well,
realize they
I always like to ask a guest this on the show. If there's someone listening tonight that kinda just feels like they don't have a purpose, they feel lost, and they're on the edge of giving up, what would you like to say to that person?
that God doesn't make mistakes and that he made you are here for a purpose. And your purpose is very unique and it's your job to spend the rest of your life just believing that. If God doesn't make mistakes, spend time instead of figuring out, shaming yourself. Try to be curious and be like, why did God create me? He
Hmm.
didn't just create you to occupy real estate and space because he was bored and had nothing to do, right? So
Yeah.
if you actually were created, Rick Warren wrote the book Purpose Driven Life. Have you ever read that
Mhm.
book?
Oh, yeah, long time ago, yep.
And when I read that and I actually heard him speak one time, I was like, wow, I love that. It's
Yeah.
always, so if God is telling you, I created you for a purpose, then what greater permission do you need than that?
Mhm.
And
That
instead of kind of shaming yourself and wondering like, why don't you start asking yourself, what is my purpose? Why did God create me? And
yeah.
spend your time being curious and investigating. And you never know. It could be to help, your neighbors. It could be to grow trees. It could be it doesn't have to be anything. We always think of these like grandiose things.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's the most simple things. We underestimate our role in other people's lives.
Mhm.
So just stay curious and give yourself permission that you are here for a purpose and that you matter.
Yeah.
Stop waiting for others to tell you.
Right. Right.
Mm,
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. That's very impactful.
mm. You're
I wanna
welcome.
read, a scripture real quick. It's from Acts chapter 10:43. All the prophets testify about him that everyone who believes in him receives forgiveness of sins through his name. And that kinda ties into what you just said. God made you for a reason. You do have a purpose. You may not know what it is yet, but God loves you. You're made in his own image and he'll never leave you or he'll never forsake you. He's always there for everybody,
Mm.
not just me, not just you. He's there for everybody. And yeah, don't try to be, your purpose may not be a Navy SEAL, but like I thought mine was going to be. It wasn't because I didn't make it through training, but I found out it's running a podcast. Who would have thought? I mean, it's life is crazy, but I trust in God, and it sometimes it takes that faith to get to that point where, okay, cool. Now I feel like I'm living a purpose. I'm not just living for pleasure anymore. And that's,
Mm.
unfortunately a lot of people make that mistake and they're trying to fill that hole because they feel empty. And you do have a purpose. You are
You
put
know,
here for a reason.
book that said, "In the absence of meaning, man will distract himself with pleasure."
Hmm.
And so, and when they say midlife crisis is literally a crisis of meaning.
Huh. Man, that's
So,
good. Never
yeah.
heard that. Yeah, that's good. That's really good. That's awesome. Well, Dr. Hamden, where can people learn more about you? And you want to tell us your website and how they can connect with you, like online and stuff through social media?
So on Instagram, you can go ahead and follow Brain Health Doc. It's BRAIN, health, HEALTH, doc, and that's my handle. And then on my website, brainhealthgrowth.com.
And I'll put all of those in the description for this episode on YouTube so people can get in touch with you. You said you're in Houston, right?
Yes, Houston,
Okay.
Texas.
Awesome.
Okay.
Nice.
Let me know if you're
Well,
ever here.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I actually got invited to come out on a podcast in Houston, but I just got back from Jersey a couple weeks ago, so I'm trying to
Uh,
figure out my travel with co-parenting and traveling can be challenging and then running a business. So it can be challenging, but I'm going to get out that way. I know a few guys out in Texas. So
you ever
I'm
come to
trying
Texas?
to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll do a brain scan for you.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'd love that. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Very
Well,
informative. Okay.
yeah, that'd be awesome. Well, I'm going to close out with a prayer. Is there anything you want to add before we close out tonight?
just thank you for having me. And, really, I feel like God connects people for a reason. And I really enjoyed this talk.
100%, I did too, and I'm really honored to be able to sit down, especially to bring you on with your knowledge and your wisdom because it's a platform that attracts a lot of first responders and veterans, and it's cool to actually sit down with a mental health professional and hear your insight. And honestly, it benefited me a lot. And this platform for me is very therapeutic
Oh,
because I'll be 100% honest with you. I had a weird day, not a great day, but after talking to you, I feel a lot better. So I got a free therapy session out of it. So I appreciate it. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Thanks for the session. All right. Please bow with me. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you so much, Lord, just for this opportunity to sit down tonight with Dr. Hamden and be able to just talk with her and just be able to listen to her speak and to be able to have a platform where she can share her wisdom and her knowledge and life experience and just talk in a casual setting and in a real world environment. Lord, I'm thankful for this podcast. I pray you'll be with the listeners and the viewers that are watching this and listening to this. Lord, I just pray you'll be with them and let them know they're loved, their life has meaning, and that they have purpose, regardless of what their past says or what they've been through. That we're all here for a reason. Lord, thank you so much. I just ask that you bless us, continue to lead us, lead this podcast. Bless Dr. Hamdan and be with her family and bless them. And just thank you again for all that you do in our lives. It's in your mighty name I pray. Amen. Thanks for checking out the Peace, Power, and Purpose podcast. Be sure to smash that bell, like and subscribe to the channel here on YouTube. We're also over on Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. New episodes drop every Wednesday and every Thursday. This was an absolute honor. Thank you so much for your time tonight, Doctor.
you're welcome.
And I'll definitely look you up when I get out to Houston for sure.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Take care.
Bye.